Welcome to Rick's Europe. Today will be an historic day as the Parliament is hosting a series of debates on the motion of censure, or better, of no vote, initiated by Mr. Piperea, member of the European Parliament for the Alliance of the Union of Romanians. And what is happening is actually a series of events. First and foremost, of course, we know Pfizergate. Queen Ursula von der Leyen, who single-handedly made backdoor deals with the CEO of Pfizer. We still don't know what's said over those messages, but it was worth billions of taxpayers' money, and yet so far she has refused to give any transparency on what's said over those messages. And if that wasn't enough, now it's also the misuse of emergency powers as they're pushing through a 150 billion defense fund. It's bypassing democratic scrutiny by using a legal article meant for short-term crises. And yet again, even that isn't enough because the Commission is interfering in national elections. They've done it in Romania, they've done it also in Germany by misapplying the Digital Service Act for restricting political speech and influences outcoming of those elections. Well, with me today is the initiator of this motion, Dr. Piperea, and I really want to start by expressing my gratitude because what we are seeing by the Commission is systematically bypassing democracy, even undermining democracy. And it's very good as an EU citizen to see that we are still having politicians that care about restoring democracy, giving us transparency, and with that also restoring faith in the public management. So thank you for
Excellent, sir. Thank you for your invitation, and I'm glad to meet you, even is online. Let's discuss a little bit about this motion
yes.
and especially about the trust of the citizens into the European institution and into the democratic system.
Absolutely, because I think what we're seeing is basically that von der Leyen thinks that she's above the law, that the law doesn't apply to her. She doesn't have to show transparency. I mean, this is in essence the most undemocratic thing you can do. Those backdoor deals that she's making with taxpayers' money. I saw in another interview that you also mentioned, of course, the lobby scandal from Frans Timmermans, which I think doesn't get enough attention because it's basically influencing public opinion again with taxpayers' money. And even after those months that the court is saying that she could just give transparency, Ursula von der Leyen, on those messages, we still don't know what has been said. What inspired you, or what is your main goal with this motion?
Yeah, first of all, let me start by speaking about the trust in institution and in the democracy. Unfortunately, starting the pandemic era, meaning 2020, 2021, people all around Europe diminished their trust into democracy. They said that democracy it's a bad idea, and they said that even is a good idea, democracy it's a kind of circus, it's a kind of joke. Because when we are speaking about responsibility, liability, accountability of the managers of the public funds, on the administrator, of the politician in power, there is nothing we can do because the institution, including the judicial institution, has no power and has no influence to politics. And the worst example is itself this decision of the European Court of Justice in Luxembourg in 25th of May about this so-called Pfizer gate. You know, they started with a very bad mistake over the so-called general prosecutor, European general prosecutor. You remember probably that around 22, something like this, around 22, there was a petition of a lobby consultant, something like this, a journalist in Belgium, to a Belgian prosecutor. This Belgian prosecutor started a prosecution against people from the European Union about these SMS, short messages. And after a saga in front of the Belgian court, they finished by taking over this file. I'm speaking about the EPPO, and now this file is under the desk. I'm not speaking about this. There's still ongoing litigation, I don't know, a panel enquete on this event in 2022. I'm speaking about the event of 2025. And what happened was that the European Court of Justice says you have to disclose those SMS. It doesn't matter the fact that it's about personal data. It for sure doesn't matter about the fact that you delete it. You have to disclose those SMS because it's about contracts of something like 35 billion euros, and those euros is from the pockets of the citizens like me, like you, like all the other 450 million European citizens. And what happened? Nothing. No. We're now on the 7th of July, and nobody from the European Commission not even bother to say something about, I don't know, the motivation of not disclosing this SMS. This is not only lack of transparency, this is to break the rule of law, to break the so-called separation of power principle. Second, what happened, because of the fact that Frau von der Leyen is based on this, I don't know, on this bad idea that because she is the European Commission President, she cannot mistake, cannot break the law, something like this. Based on this, she disclosed that Rearm Europe program, and she said that in order to finance this program, we're gonna use the emergency funds like pandemics, like catastrophic flood, etc., etc. And very interesting is the fact that in the Commission for Legal Affairs jury committee, I am a member of this jury committee. Yeah, as a professor and a lawyer, I choose to be member of this jury committee. And I said, this legal basis is mistaken. It's not only mistaken, you use this legal basis, that so-called legal basis, in order to skip Parliament, to avoid the decision and the debate of the Parliament, and you cannot do that. And what happened yesterday, last week, in the very moment they decided to, in the very day they decided to make this motion of censure debated today and voted on Thursday, they said the Parliament, the European Parliament, will gonna sue the European Commission in front of the European Court of Justice. You understand what happened? This is something, I don't know, it's singular in the whole history of the European Union. The Parliament will sue the European Commission in front of the European Court of Justice. Why? Because of the fact that the Commission break the rule, the principle of the distribution of power. Constitutionally, there is not only a separation of power, but there is also a distribution of power. This is why we have Parliament, Council, Commission, Court of Justice, European Court of Auditors, and European Central Bank. This means distribution of power. You cannot skip it, and you cannot break it. And this is the third kind of motivation. You ask me what triggered me to do this move. Those three very important cases, facts. I'm speaking about facts. Is not there is nothing as an invention. I don't know, conspiracy theories. And what triggered mostly. What was the most important trigger was the fact that I realized that in the last 6 years, it happened that the Commission collected so much power in so many hands, then we are facing the risk to slide into totalitarianism. You know, I come from an East European country with a very bad experience, totalitarian experience, 45 years of influence of Soviet Union. Me and my fellow Romanians, and I'm sure that it's the same with the rest of the Eastern and Central European countries, we don't want to repeat this. We don't want to live this nightmare again. We don't want to see this European Union transformed into a Soviet Union. We don't want leaders like Xi Jinping or leaders like Putin. You understand, this is my most important trigger to do this motion. It was a challenge also for me, but the shock, not only a surprise, the shock for me was to see the administration of the parliament not knowing practically nothing about the motion of censure, very displeased, very shocked about the fact that somebody had the courage to start this motion of censure. And also, I've seen the mass media, especially in my country, saying that why do you do this? Why do you make this scandal? Why do you try to, I don't know, destabilize the saint Ursula von der Leyen? Because she is very good in what she's doing, preparing us for a war against Russia, preparing us for the climate change war, etc., etc. No, you know, the motion of censure is not a scandal. It's a constitutional tool. It's usual. It's usual like I don't know, like water, like air. If you don't have this kind of tool in a democracy, you do not have a democracy. You understand? And this is why I am completely surprised about the fact that all of these people from the majority, even they hate practically. They hate Ursula von der Leyen. I'm going to give you examples. People from EPP, people from Renew, people from SND says, no, we cannot accept this. This is a circus. This is a tool of Putin, etc., etc. No.
Yeah,
my friend,
continue, I want to add to that.
Citizens, just a second. It's not a game. It's not a joke. It's not a circus. It's about democracy in action. This means democracy in action. Okay, so ask me.
Yeah, because like you're saying, you know, in a good working democracy, what you need to have is that there are politicians that are there for the checks and balances when power is being abused, which is exactly what you're doing. And I want to go over to actually Manfred Weber. He is the party leader of the EPP, and he said the following thing: Ursula von der Leyen is negotiating a trade deal with the US that will have direct impact on the daily lives of 450 million Europeans. It is important to stand strong and united and not to fall into the trap of this motion, which was set up by pro-Putin fringes in European Parliament, which is basically emotional, psychological manipulation, because the only reason why he's trying to diminish you and discredit you as a Russian asset is because you are actually having the courage to talk and criticize the abuse of power by Ursula von der Leyen and by European Commission. You are threatening the establishment, which is exactly what they're fearing. And I'm very sorry that you have to be scrutinized over actually restoring democracy. But this is, of course, what we see in European Parliament, what they do. They try to maintain their power. And I think also this is maybe one of the reasons why there's not been another person that came forward with this motion of no confidence, because this whole structure is built in a way that is very difficult. At least an absolute majority needs to be there during the voting, which is 361 MEPs. And then, of course, from that, 2/3 of the MEPs need to vote in favor of that motion. How likely do you think that will happen?
Okay, let's start by giving answers to step by step by your questions. First of all, about Mr. Manfred Weber, you know, the fact that he used this kind of cliche stereotype.
Yeah.
Saying about me that I'm just a tool of Putin tells a lot of things about him, not about me. I have to repeat because this is practically the story of my life here in European Parliament. I am not Putinist. I am not Russophile. I am Românophile, Romanianophile, and I am Europeanophile. You understand? I want this Europe to be a very, very good place to live, the best place to live on the earth. But because of this, I have to try to clean the house, because now the house is very, very dirty.
Yeah.
Second, of course, all of those people will come today in the parliament and will try to diminish the motion, and also will try to diminish myself. You know, they cannot do this about myself because, first of all, I'm a lawyer. I have a practice of 29 years as a lawyer and also 2 years as a judge. Second, I am a professor. Third, I am a PhD in Sorbonne in Paris, and also I am invulnerable. I know I have nothing to fear from this point of view. So they cannot beat me trying to, I don't know, to transform me into a public enemy. I am not so easy, you understand, because I am a lawyer. Third, of course, there will be a majority for Frau von der Leyen. I am a reasonable person because, as I told you, I am a lawyer, and I'm a very, very old lawyer, and I'm a very awfully good lawyer, and I am a reasonable person. But nevertheless, first of all, you're going to see Manfred Weber, which do hates Ursula von der Leyen because of climate change, or because of the fact that Ursula von der Leyen practically stolen the position of the European Commission to Mr. Weber in 2019, and he will come and say, we vote again for Frau von der Leyen, despite the fact that he hates von der Leyen. Second, you're going to see SND, meaning socialist, and especially Mr. Sanchez from Spain, which just said to Trump that he will not contribute with 5% of the GDP to NATO, coming and say we're going to vote for Ursula von der Leyen. Even Ursula von der Leyen started this Rearm EU Europe program, which will gonna get from the money in the budget of for the, you know, there is a budget for fighting against poverty, and also there is a budget for fighting against the disequilibrium between the regions of the European Union. It's called adhesion, not adhesion. I'm sorry, cohesion funds. Cohesion funds. We are speaking about tens of, even hundreds of billions of euros taken by Ursula von der Leyen from this money in order to finance these military purposes, to transform Europe into a machine, war machine. Yeah. And socialists, of course, and left, of course, and Renew, of course, hates. I am not using the wrong words here. Hates Ursula von der Leyen, but they will gonna vote probably for her. Anyway, the important is not this. The important is the fact that we did not have, until this moment, the chance to a debate. Us, like citizens, them, like politicians, we did not have the chance to debate. Because what happened to Frau von der Leyen in the last 6 years, she said, I am practically a czar, I am practically an emperor, I don't have to speak to you. What I have is important. What I have to do is to use your money properly, and I'm gonna save you. There is an enemy, and this enemy is the climate change. This enemy is the COVID virus. This enemy is Putin. I am the savior. You know, this very simple and infantile game, the game of the savior against the enemy. But what really has to be bear in mind by the population of the European Union is the fact that there will be always crisis, natural or artificial, manufactures. So there will be always an enemy. So there will be always a savior saying that in order for you to be saved by me, you have to withdraw and to give up to your normal life, to your freedoms, to your rights and interests. And I cannot accept this. You cannot accept this.
I completely agree with you because this is this is a pattern that we always see with the European Commission. They create a problem and then they offer themselves as a solution. And now again, they say, "Oh, but we need Ursula von der Leyen because she needs to make a deal with the United States, and also we are facing now war with Russia."
Is
And
the
these
worst
are
person to do this. Is the worst person to do this. Nobody is speaking anymore to Ursula von der Leyen. The Trump administration, starting the 20th of January, cut all of the discussion, dialogues, diplomatic relations with the European Union because of Ursula von der Leyen. And about Putin. Of course, Putin will not discuss with Ursula von der Leyen. There is no possibility of negotiation with Ursula von der Leyen. So in order to, I don't know, to defreeze this kind of relation with United States especially, because we are very, very much interested in having this relation defrozen, we have to have another leader.
Well, it's very clear that they try to install fear in us and they try to abuse that fear. They've done it as well with COVID and now they do it again. They did it as well with the war in Ukraine. They want to have fear in us so they can do whatever they want. And with you, instead of celebrating your accountability that you are holding her responsible for, which is the basic of democracy, they're trying to discredit you. So please know that we are on your side and we're very grateful that you're fighting our fight for restoring democracy. And what's really making me angry is that the European Commission has this hubris that they think that they're above the law. And the worst part is that they created a structure and a system that maintains them in power. And like you said, it's not very likely that this motion will pass. Unfortunately, the structure is too strong, too powerful that they cannot be dismissed. But what do you hope that the effects will be of this motion?
I'm not sure Ursula von der Leyen will stay in power till the end of this year, because for sure there are forces at the moment, powers at the moment, much more powerful than me, which do not accept Ursula von der Leyen as a leader anymore. I'm sure of this. Let me tell you something about fear, and this is practically all the final 2-3 sentences of mine because I have to leave. About fear, there is no democracy when you try to manipulate people by fear. What Frau von der Leyen used to do in the last 6 years was to use stick and carrot method. The common word is submission. If you submit, you will have a card, meaning that you will be paid, you will have a bonus, you will have a leadership position, you will have the right to use NGOs, to finance your ideas or to bribe a politician, etc., etc. I'm speaking about, for example, Timmermans. If you do not obey, if you do not submit, we will give you the stick, meaning penalties, meaning sanctions. In a democracy, in an adult world, you cannot use this kind of method to manipulate people, stick and carrot. You cannot do. You have to have a method based on transparency, based on values, based on personal model, etc., but not to reduce your methods of management to one single one, which is the simplest, not the simplest. It's practically the most damaging from the point of view of imaging. You understand? Stick and carrot.
Yeah.
The industry of fear is producing money, piles of money. And when we had to suffer so many things during pandemics, we had to suffer, not because we did something wrong, but we had to suffer. Some people made a lot of money out of fear,
Sure.
out of this industry. And I'm speaking including and especially about this person from Pfizer, which are involved in this Pfizer Gate case. Now, I'm sorry, I have to leave you because
I know. Thank you
I have to
so
prepare
much.
my
I
speech.
want to really say thank you for your time, and most importantly, thank you for putting this motion forward. Thank you for fighting our fight for freedom and democracy. And we are rooting for you because you're making history.